Defense is one of the best, if not the best defense going right now. I mean, they got multiple top end players. They got a great scheme. They play super hard. They're physical. They do everything really well. Offensive line, been around forever. Big physical offensive line. They got one of the best young backs. This guy looks legit. They got tight ends. They got an athletic rookie tight end. They got a veteran tight end who can make plays. They got one of the top receivers in Judy. They got.
The fans are going to go crazy Sunday with Shadur. Do you have to kind of harness his energy so he stays within the game?
I think he's always done a nice job of that. He's what we appreciate about all of our players is authenticity. He's the same guy every single day. Obviously on game day there's a juice that comes with that. There's an excitement that comes with that, but he's played that position for a long time. He knows how to make sure he keeps the main thing.
Somebody better hold on to their seat, because John Harbaugh didn't just react. He straight up sparked the whole room after Shadur Sanders stepped into his NFL debut. And the wild part, he didn't even need to yell to shake the league. The way he spoke had people replaying the clip like, did he really just say that on camera?
He performed yesterday. You don't even say his name. You won't commit to him being the quarterback next week, even though Dylan Gabriel is still in concussion protocol. Okay? Come on now. We got a right to sit up there and say 1 + 1 might equal 2. Might equal 2. I mean, damn.
Stefanski is in some hot water yet again. Now, we all seen what was displayed over the weekend when Shadur Sanders went up to Las Vegas, got out of that city with the dub. At the conclusion of the game, we seen Kevin Stefanski hold the game ball in the air. And he pretty much said, well, you know what, Myles Garrett, this is for you. That is exactly what he did. Now, despite Shadur Sanders being a rookie, despite Shadur Sanders going up against all of the obstacles that he faced, because he damn sure faced a lot, Kevin Stefanski refused to give the game ball to Shadur.
Fans are split, coaches look tense, and suddenly it feels like a full-blown drama finale exploding right in the middle of the season. Now the big question hanging over everything, did Shadow accidentally reveal something? Or did Kevin Stefanski stir up the wrong situation without even realizing it? We're digging through everything because the receipts are loud. John Harbaugh didn't raise his voice, didn't slam anything, didn't call anybody out by name, and still somehow the entire Browns front office felt that message hit them like a brick smashing through a chandelier. One calm breakdown about how defenses prep for backup quarterbacks, and instantly the spotlight swung straight onto Stefanski and this simmering situation in Cleveland that had been quietly decaying behind the scenes. That slow kind of decay you only notice when part of the ceiling finally drops and everyone acts shocked even though the cracks were there from the start.
The thing that Harbaugh pointed out that I think is important is this defense is a different animal when they're in Cleveland. I still can't make heads or tails of it about how it just doesn't travel, but when they're at home and feeding off of that energy, this defense is really, really good, and they're going to have to put out an amazing performance because the offense right now is just not doing much of anything. They're going to have to find a way to cause a few turnovers, maybe get a defensive touchdown or get some short fields for the offense so that it makes it easier.
Let's talk about the Browns. Kevin Stefanski why do you do that? Why do you just come out and say, hey, this is cool?
I'm out. I'll tell you why.
Why don't you just say this is his first rookie since when to win their
1995 to win their debut for the Browns.
And I know he didn't go for 300 or whatever, and stats are telling, we're trying to find, it's hard to find all that, but still at quarterback, the position, the vibe to win a game like that, especially for Cleveland. Now, granted, he's saying a lot of things that people are like, relax, okay, you need to relax. But that's not Shadur. Like, that is not what Shadur is.
Let me ask you that. We said Shadur should have got the damn game ball. I never once, when I did that live immediately after the game, and said, you know what, I feel like Myles Garrett don't deserve the game ball. Everybody felt like he did, but at that exact moment, that day, he had a game where he had 5 sacks, bro. 5. That's worthy of a game ball. What Shadur did, going up against, he should have got the.
Let's make something crystal clear. What happened with Shadur Sanders was not random bad luck. It wasn't some freak moment or a these things happen football mishap. This was a slow-built, months-long misstep that finally caught up to Cleveland in front of the entire country. And suddenly, people are pretending they didn't see this coming, even though the warning signs have been glowing since May. 6 months. 6 full months. From draft night all the way to that first snap. Meetings, walkthroughs, film study, practice fields, install days, game plans, and through all of that, Shadow still never got real first-team reps. Not one stretch where chemistry could form, not one rhythm-building sequence with the actual starters, not even a small window where he could prep for the exact emergency every NFL team expects.
It ain't never been about Dillon Gabriel and what he gonna play like. This has control all over it. And they are fighting for control of who is on the last man on the boat, because that Titanic is sinking. And the problem for Kevin Stefanski is it looks like the deck is stacked a little bit. You don't have control of the playbook anymore. You don't have control of basically who gets traded and guys moving in and out, or you would never move.
Not from you, but all your supporters out there say that Kevin Stefanski was sabotaging you.
So you just want to start trouble, huh?
No, I want to ask you what your relationship with him is.
Yeah, well, what people do outside the building isn't really in my control. It's not in my power, so I don't. Yeah, like I go out there and tell them to do whatever. You know, that's not nothing I could control or nothing I could do. But overall, you know, I'm just happy to be here.
It ain't never been about Dillon Gabriel and what he gonna play like. This has control all over it. And they are fighting for control of who is on the last man on the boat, because that Titanic is sinking. And the problem for Kevin Stefanski is it looks like the deck is stacked a little bit. You don't have control of the playbook anymore. You don't have control of basically who gets traded and guys moving in and out, or you would never move from Flacco. And let me tell you this, if Dillon Gabriel comes out here and looks bad against the
Then week 11 hits like a siren, loud, chaotic, and with zero notice. Dillon Gabriel goes down with a concussion, the offense loses its pulse, and Stefanski is suddenly forced to do the exact thing he avoided for half a year. He throws Shadow into live battle with no timing, no chemistry, no shared communication with the offensive line, and no muscle memory with his receivers. It was the football version of tossing someone the keys to a race car they've never driven and hoping pure instinct saves the moment. And somehow people look surprised when things got messy. But here's the craziest part. That moment wasn't just Shadow's first real NFL action. It was his first legitimate work with the starting offense, period. Not during controlled practice runs, not in slowed down situational drills, not even during soft install periods. His introduction to the Browns' true offensive rhythm came under bright stadium lights, with a pocket collapsing around him and a whole season wobbling on the edge. That's not development, that's straight improvisation, and at that point it's flirting with negligence. Let's talk real football for a second, not video game theory. Quarterbacking is timing, trust, and anticipation layered on top of arm talent. It's knowing where your receiver will be before he turns his head. It's understanding how your center snaps under heat, how your guard handles stunt pressure, how your running back prefers the mesh point. You don't learn any of that standing behind a clipboard for half a year watching someone else work. Yet that's exactly what Cleveland set Shadow up with. Nothing but observation hours and hope. Even the most basic functional NFL teams re-rotate at least a couple backup reps with the starters. Helmets collide, players get hurt, concussions happen. It's not negativity, it's literally the job. Preparation is the tax you pay for the realities of football. But somewhere along the way, Stefanski decided that this standard didn't apply to Shadur, and that decision finally came back into the spotlight louder than ever. What John Harbaugh was really laying down, without pointing at anyone directly, was simple but powerful.
Something bothers me. Watching the post-game speech after Shadur Sanders gets his first NFL victory as a rookie, I see his teammates, how they are on the sideline. I never believed that they were trying to hold Shadur back. But the coach is in the locker room giving out game balls. And Kevin Stefanski just kind of throws something towards Shadur.
Another rookie making his first start. Nice job, Shadur. Well done.
That's a red light. Give him his flowers right here.
Browns record, Myles Garrett. Come on, man.
So my messaging to Kevin Stefanski and the organization would be this. Don't put a safety capsule around Shadur over this last stretch of games. Tell Shadur, listen, I want you to be aggressive. I want you to go out there and test your limits and figure out what you can and can't do, because that's going to be best long-term for his development and for the organization's development. So there's a fine line between being smart and not being stupid, but also taking the chances and pushing the envelope so that you can actually develop.
He can't relate to black players. Cultured black players. This coach done been in the league since 2005. That's 20 years. And you only coached 3 players that I deem is cultured. It's abundantly clear that you don't want to see Shadur Sanders win. He's not like Kirk Cousins. He's not like Dylan Gabriel. When he comes in for the first down and he does that, it's not a distraction, bro. You got to understand that. I don't think Kevin Stefanski.
The backup should already be trained to run the exact same system. The scheme doesn't shift for the quarterback. The quarterback fits himself into the scheme, and that instantly raises the uncomfortable question hanging over Cleveland like a heavy storm cloud. Why wasn't Shadur ready to fit into that system? The truth is harsh. He was never given the preparation he needed, not structurally, not mentally, not competitively. He wasn't shaped into the offense. He wasn't folded into the rhythm. He wasn't gradually blended into game speed timing with the starters. They kept him on the shelf like he was being preserved, waiting for some moment that never came, until everything broke at once. And when that freeze cracked open, frustration exploded from every direction. Coach Prime didn't sound like some football celebrity reacting to a highlight cycle. He sounded like a parent seeing 6 months of silent setbacks hit the light all at once, and it hurt to watch. His frustration wasn't loud, it was worn down. It came from watching confidence slowly fade before Shadur ever had a fair shot to build any. A quarterback's mental base is everything, and once that foundation fractures, the physical tools barely matter. Watching his son step into a moment he should have been prepared for months earlier didn't feel like a breakthrough. It felt like a rescue mission showing up too late. Then Shannon Sharpe stepped in and set the rest of the conversation on fire. He didn't sugarcoat anything. He didn't dance around it. He gave 4 straight minutes of raw disbelief. His breakdown wasn't some shock value line. It was him calling out what real lack of preparation looks like when the person responsible doesn't deliver the groundwork that every pro deserves. Shannon explained it in a way only someone who's lived those locker rooms could. Even when legends ran the offense, backups still touched the system. Even when a QB1 owned the entire fan base, the backup still breathed some first-team reps in practice. Not because the starter was doubted, but because everyone in the building deserved protection against the unpredictable hits and injuries that come with football. But in Cleveland, that safety net was never created. So when Gabriel went down and Shadow stepped in, what followed wasn't just uneven execution, it was pure structural confusion. Protections weren't moving in sync. Hot reads didn't click instinctively. The offensive line didn't react to adjustments because they'd never rehearsed those adjustments with Shadur's voice leading the calls. On one snap, 3 linemen collapsed on a single rusher while another defender came untouched off the edge. That's the type of chaos you see when trust has never been built between the quarterback and the line. And then people turned around and asked why the quarterback didn't perform well. The conversation kept circling around production numbers as if stats can magically explain preparation. It's like judging a pilot for a bumpy landing on his very first flight with 0 simulator training and half the dashboard mislabeled. Real football doesn't operate like that. Timing isn't optional. Chemistry isn't some decoration. It's the oil that keeps the entire engine from locking up and burning itself out. And Shadow was told to run a machine he'd only watched through a glass window. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, the political side of things made the whole situation look even messier. Different representation, different influence lanes, a head coach whose future seems tied to the success of his chosen starter, and a front office more focused on proving past decisions right than protecting the team in the present. At some point, the whole situation stops looking like development and starts looking like a quiet, calculated decision to push one storyline while letting another fade into the background. Even if someone believes Dylan Gabriel is the stronger quarterback, even if they think he deserves every healthy start without debate, that still doesn't justify shutting out the backup from preparation entirely. That's exactly where the mental impact Coach Prime talked about starts to make uncomfortable sense. When a player spends months inside an environment that doesn't invest in him, doesn't fold him into the rhythm of the offense, doesn't put him into the bloodstream of the operation, That absence isn't harmless. It sends a message. It builds doubt. It takes a bite out of a player's sense of belonging. It teaches him quietly and consistently that he exists more in theory than in actual practice. And for quarterbacks, more than any other position, that signal cuts deep. Confidence at that spot isn't built from pep talks or hype videos. It's built from reps, from shared mistakes in practice, from slowing down timing issues and cleaning them up together. It's built from knowing exactly how much air your receiver needs coming out of a break. When you take all of that away, you don't just freeze development, you twist it. Yet even with all that working against him, even with the lack of structure, the absence of integration, and getting thrown into a live game midseason with zero warm-up, Shadow still showed flashes. The arm didn't fade. The poise didn't disappear. That alone tells you his baseline talent is real and ready. What's missing isn't ability, it's support, structure, and an actual foundation. Now the storyline gets even tighter. Gabriel's concussion pushes everything into a high-pressure crossroads. If he can't clear protocol, the Browns suddenly have no choice but to do the exact thing they avoided for half a year. Give Shadur a full week as the actual starter with real first-team reps. That means timing work, installs, protection meetings, and a game plan built around him. The very thing that should have been happening slowly since May will now slam into place all at once under pressure. And if Shadur plays well with a genuine week of preparation, every tough question Kevin Stefanski has dodged will come crashing back with extra force. Why wasn't this happening earlier? Why did an injury have to unlock basic developmental reps? Why was the depth chart treated like a museum display instead of a real system prepared for emergencies? And even if he struggles, the narrative still won't be fair, because 1 week of reps can't erase months of missed chemistry with the unit he's now expected to lead. No matter the outcome, the lack of earlier preparation from the coaching staff becomes nearly impossible to ignore. Zooming out, this isn't just a Browns issue. This is one of the NFL's classic repeated mistakes. Young quarterbacks are thrown into unstable setups and then blamed when things break down. So when Shadur walked into that building, he didn't walk into a clean slate. He stepped into a lab known for experiments that never get the environment they need to succeed. The most frustrating part is how avoidable this all was. Nobody demanded Shadow start from day one. Nobody was pushing for a quarterback controversy. All he needed was the standard baseline: normal preparation, normal developmental reps, normal organizational structure, and somehow even that simple foundation wasn't delivered. Now the entire league is paying attention. Harbaugh's subtle comments pulled the curtain back without making a scene. Coach Prime put a human face on the emotional fallout. Shannon Sharp took off whatever cover was left and described it exactly how a former pro sees it: an unforced error in process. Nothing about this situation feels random anymore, and every part of it looks preventable. It doesn't feel random anymore. It feels chosen. So now the conversation shifts from what happened to what's about to happen next. If Cleveland finally gives Shadow real access to meaningful practice reps and he looks sharp, it'll confirm every criticism people have been shouting. It'll prove that preparation was the missing piece the whole time. But if the team instantly hides him again the moment Gabriel returns, sliding Shadur right back into the shadows, that message will hit even louder than before. And if the organization keeps wobbling between both paths, unsure of what they believe, the pressure around this quarterback situation is only going to crank up even more. Quarterbacks don't grow in silence. They grow inside full ecosystems. And right now, Cleveland's ecosystem is unstable at best and confusing at worst. The wildest part is that John Harbaugh never had to call out a single person by name. If your backup steps into a game and looks unprepared, that failure didn't start with the injury. It started months earlier. It started in May. It started with who got reps, who was included, and whether the organization actually believes in depth or just pretends to during press conferences. And right now, Cleveland's answers to those questions don't exactly bring confidence. Shadur Sanders never asked to become a symbol of structural issues inside the building. He was supposed to be a developing player being shaped with patience and real reps. Instead, he turned into a live example of what happens when development becomes performative instead of real, hands-on preparation. Yet even with all of this swirling around him, the story still isn't finished. A full week of true preparation could change everything. Real timing, real chemistry, real trust. None of that guarantees instant success, but it finally gives him a fair shot at it. And if that chance shows up, the league will finally get to see who Shadur really is when the ground under his feet isn't crumbling. Until that moment comes, Cleveland sits under a microscope they built themselves. Every practice rep now carries weight. Harbaugh's words crack cracked the door open. Prime's reaction blew it wider. Shannon Sharpe's breakdown kicked the hinges off completely. Now the spotlight is aimed right at Kevin Stefanski, and the last big mystery is whether the organization adapts or whether Shadur's real future ends up far away from the shores of Lake Erie. Because one thing is already clear without anybody needing to say it directly. This situation is no longer quiet, and it's no longer guesswork. This is now a full open review of how Cleveland handles the most delicate position in all of football. And right now, that review is not looking friendly. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe.